How's it going? And welcome to the Caffeinated Coordinators Podcast, the Mardi Gras episode. Joining me, well, hold on. My name is Scott Pellegrin, Coach Pell. And joining me in this carnival time, he is the king of the call sheet, the quarterback guru, and the Mardi Gras Scrooge, Coach G, Tyler Gaspard.
Comment ça va?
Comment ça va bien?
It's not that I'm a Scrooge. It's just people celebrate it for the wrong reasons. Just like Christmas. I mean, people are always expecting gifts instead of, just celebrating the real reason that we celebrate Christmas. I get into it a little bit too, but we got a few little sponsors still up there. We got the River Roast Cafe French Roast Coffee, and we got the Gaspar's Cajun Heat Seasoning.
Gaspar.
Good stuff.
I love it. I love it. It's great stuff.
I use it a lot.
And then the third man in this booth, he is the producer of the Caffeinated Coordinators, the godfather of EATV. All he wants from Mardi Gras is for you to throw him something, mister. Coach Eric Brownfield.
All right. Yeah. I like Mardi Gras, and I'm tall, so I just stay in the back.
There you go.
Can reach
I always
over
in the back.
everybody.
That's right. I'm in the back of every picture, and I'm used to that. I've done that for my whole life. So Mardi Gras, same thing. I just get in the back, and a lot of those guys like the thrill of throwing back there. It's too easy as dropping that stuff right down in front of the float.
Got
You're
a
probably
little-
one of those guys, huh? Like you want to show off your arm.
I do a little bit of both. So when you ride on top of the float, it's you get a little action you can throw kind of deeper.
Yeah.
And then I ride on the bottom in another parade, and that's where you just kind of do the little backhanded flipping, just flinging beads, and they don't go very far, but the people right next to the float appreciate it. So it's that's
They
the
got
cool.
front row seats for a reason.
They do. So it's a fun time for everyone. There's a Mardi Gras parade and a spot for everybody on the parade route.
Now-
People in the front usually have kids.
That's right. That's
no.
right.
It's a good mix, and I don't want to ever catch a bead, over a kid. So I'm in the back. I try to make sure I'm not trying to compete for anything, but anything that comes my way, I'm going to grab it. But I also, the coolest thing is being in the parade.
Yes.
That's the coolest thing. And
Yeah.
I've marched in a couple with the Caledonian Society. Got a couple kilts. And I'm telling you guys. And and I know you're dressed up today for it. I should have wore the kilt. I didn't think about it. And it's 38 degrees this morning. But I'm gonna tell you, like when those bagpipes start blaring, and you're turning a corner, and people love the bagpipes. I don't think they love them too much anywhere else, but at a Mardi Gras parade, for some reason, people just love bagpipes.
Dude.
And I love them all the time. But man, it's a thrill. It's a thrill.
Something like one big thing I like about Mardi Gras is people actually listen to Cajun and Zydeco music.
That's right.
Like that it's played everywhere. I mean, they got a mixture of music.
And you got to.
Why not?
I'm all about
Good old
celebrating your
accordion, man.
heritage. So, along with we have our actual supporters and sponsorships. We have our ones who, if you see this on any of our social media outlets, Ralph's Market, we love you. Ralph's King Cake right here, plain. Right? Plain. And Ralph's thing is they got the icing with the food coloring of the purple, green, and gold, but no real extra sugar on top, which is a nice change up from a lot of other king cakes. But theirs is pretty awesome. We're also drinking in the big jug the Community Coffee King Cake Blend in the Caffeinated Coordinators mug. Coach Brownfield is not really a flavored coffee guy, and it got his seal of approval.
I'm telling you, not too sweet, just a nice subtle flavor. If every flavored coffee was like that, we'd be in better shape.
We'd be in better shape.
Brownfield, tell us about this Oak Point one, man.
Oh yeah. I was at a pig roast last Saturday.
Cochon de lait.
Hey.
And
Bouchari.
yeah, that's it was man, it was a great shout out to Fireball Dan, the host of that, and a whole different story, another podcast there. But the Oak Point, there's one in Central, there's one in Watson. That's the only two, so there's none here in Ascension. But let me tell you, if you're ever that way, they are worth it. I spent 10 minutes in there, and I didn't have time to spend 10 minutes, but I spent 10 minutes. They have probably 20 different flavors on any given day, and they have some amazing. They have an Elvis king cake, peanut butter and banana situation.
Ooh.
They got a banana pudding king cake. I could go on and on, but let me tell you, if you're up that way, you need to stop by because they are well executed, and there's a ton of choices.
Man, I love that.
We're going to put this conversation on pause because we're about to come back to it.
We're coming back to this 100%. Back to this because I have a bone to pick with you, Scrooge.
Oh, okay. That's fine. We can pick all you want. All right. So, Pell, last week, well, the past two, I get the part 1 and part 2 was gap scheme.
That's right.
Kind of like the offensive perspective of it. And then you talked about how you would align and how your fits. So let's talk defense today.
Okay.
We talked a little bit this week, and y'all came up with a good idea of talking blitzing. Okay, so give us a rundown. How are we gonna go with this? Probably gonna be a part 2.
Yeah.
I mean, a 2-part episode.
Absolutely. So blitzing's interesting because a lot of people fall on, I don't want to say there's two sides to it, but there really are only two sides to it. You got guys who live and die by sending heat.
Right.
And you got guys who try to conservatively send heat. And running the numbers personally, which side I fall on, the last couple of years that I call defense, I'm in that 20 to 25% of the time I'm sending heat. And I mean, there's so much meat on this bone, man. There are situations when you do it, so I'll just jump right into something I read not long ago. And it was with Manny Diaz, who's the head coach at Duke now. But this is an interview when he was at Miami a few years back. But anyway, it was discussing turnovers and third downs and some of those money down situations, okay? And we're going to talk about kind of what some of the verbiage is as we go through. But, and they were saying, well, Coach Diaz, do you work on turnovers at practice? How do y'all get so many turnovers? And he said, oftentimes turnovers happen in situations where the offense is trying to get those chunk yardage.
Right.
It's 3rd and long. It's 2nd and long. They're trying to get a good chunk back to put themselves in favorable position to have a shot to either go for it on 4th or make it 3rd and manageable, or it's a situation in the game where it's 3rd and 12, but they got to get all 12.
Yeah.
Clock's ticking. So he mentioned trying to get teams behind the sticks early. If you have a lot of 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12s, and you could get a positive defensive play, and now it's 3rd and long, and now they have what they have to do, put the ball in the air. And the way a lot, I guess my point is, the way a lot of coaches do that is by sending blitzes, okay? Not to just rely on your base stuff, but how do you get offenses behind the sticks? How do you get them in 2nd and 3rd and 4th and longs? Well, sending heat, okay? Sending heat, because it's the defense's version of a shot play, all right? We're gonna go for a really big play right here. And if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, we have other processes to make sure we don't get killed. If it doesn't work, but you're going for a chunk play. You're going for a shot play there. So, and as we go through this, and like I said, there'll be a part 2, and there might be some other parts down the line. When do you send blitzes, right? Personally, I send them in. I like in the medium situations. I like the 3rd and 5 to 8s.
Take a note on that.
There you go. Take you a note. But 3rd and 5 to 8s, 2nd and 5 to 8s. And we talked so much about film study and the homework, and we showed y'all the call sheet and all this stuff. And I know I'm kind of getting into the weeds here, but that just to give you an idea of myself personally, 2nd and 5 to 8, still a rundown if you choose for it to be, or it could be a pass down. It depending on how aggressive you are. Well, to me, perfect chance to send something safe that would be effective against the run or the pass. 3rd, okay? Because let me back up. Best case, if it hits, now you're in 3rd and long.
Long, yeah.
Okay. Worst case is 3rd and 5 to 8, and I'm like, all right, they're probably gonna put the ball in the air now. So now I could dial up a little something else, and then I'm sure you're going to talk about the offensive perspective in a second, so I'm not going to steal your thunder on that. But there are times when the offense, you got to be careful when you send blitzes, because the offense takes advantage of the fact that you're going for broke on that.
Yeah.
And depending on how you blitz, whether you have spies or that sort of thing.
It goes back to what we talked about.
Excuse
me. We watch film just like you watch film.
Absolutely.
So even though you might not think it's a tendency, we might find a tendency on it. Okay, anywhere from 5 to 8, he's 70% blitz. Well, that's big for me. So I mean,
For sure,
it goes back to our film episode.
And that's why you got to do so much self scout, because if you're a 25% of the time blitzer, then okay, you can get away with that because you're not gonna have a hard tendency.
Yeah.
As a defensive coach, but if you're somebody who lives and dies by certain situations, I'm coming, you open yourself up to that.
Yeah.
But in certain teams you can't. Certain teams you can't, and I mean teams that throw a lot of quicks, teams that throw a lot of screens, teams that do those kinds of things. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, I really got to pick my spot because you neutralized me, not completely, but you forced me to be a little more strategic than if you're just a true drop back, or if you have hard tendencies yourself.
Yeah.
So offensively, if you want to give us a little rundown of how some of the ways you attack blitzes.
The biggest thing is when we talk general blitzing, I ask myself a question: how can we get a hat on a hat, and have the QB know who he's hot on, and not have to change that up much. The quarterback's already got a lot to think about through a play and a lot to process. So how can we get a hat on a hat and keep that same guy hot for majority of the time? Mm-hmm. Multiple ways you can do it. We'll get into it a little bit on the board, but I personally believe if we can get the tackle box, tackle to tackle, covered and leave the hot on the outsides off the edge, it eliminates a lot of things because especially in high school, how many quarterbacks can be successfully, continuously consistent on throwing the ball over the middle? Not many. So where are the quarterback's eyes majority of the time? Outside the tackle box. Mm-hmm. Well, let's keep him that way. Okay, now the blitz is coming into his face, or at worst, is behind him. Now you still have a hot route or something short that he can get rid of the ball quick.
And that's part of the fun of doing this because, part of the fun is studying teams and figuring out, okay, how can I attack them this week? Like when I get to that part of the game plan on Saturday, because you spend, 80% of the game, probably more, I just made that number up, but probably more than that, is base downs and base defense and, your bread and butter calls, but when that time on Saturday comes and when it gets to, okay, now the fun part, you know what I mean? You got all the cards drawn for the base downs, you got your base alignments figured out. All right, now how are we going to attack these fools? And then you look around the room and some coaches are like, well, I don't know if we can. And I'm thinking, oh, no. We definitely can. We just got to figure out what's going to work for us. Maybe that week it's heavy zone blitzes. Okay? Maybe that week it's we like man blitzes. Maybe we have to throw a combination of them to keep the offense on their toes. And I just want to go through a few quick terms. A man blitz is when you play some form of man coverage behind it. Okay, cover 1, cover 0. Okay, a zone blitz is when you still find a way to play a zone behind your blitz. It is the brother of simulated pressure is the way people kind of say it now, where you might only be sending 4. So you still have 7 in coverage. Right. So all of your 7 coverage zones are still intact, but the offense, it looks like we're sending guys. And we'll get into that on the board. I'm not sure if we'll get too much into sim pressure today. I might save that one for our next episode. Just depends on how far we get versus our time limit here. But I find I love sim pressure versus quick game screen teams. I want to make the fat guys think up front, make them offensive linemen think there's more coming than what they are. And
I see what you did there.
Send some guys, so you occupy eyes, and then you send certain guys, you bail other ones, and we're fortunate enough at this school we have very athletic bodies on the defensive line, which I have come to really appreciate because you could drop a defensive into the flat, you could buzz him to where that tunnel screen's coming.
We had a pick six on a drop defensive end one time.
We did. 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and. Hell, last year, and I'll say it, we would have beat Sanoma if we called 2 sim pressures. Both times, player dropped the ball, and we would those 2 would have been momentum swings. One of them would have scored, one of them wouldn't have because just of the bodies around them. But we'd have probably beat them because of that. However, this is look in the mirror time for coach here when man, how'd they drop the ball? I didn't put a ball in their hand all week long.
You just told them how to do it.
That's right. And I broke my own rule. I taught them how to drop into coverage. I taught them how to read it. I taught them all the things necessary. I forgot the easy part. Let's go there and play catch for a little while.
Yeah.
With defensive linemen. And I kicked myself all weekend. I was like, you idiot.
And that's like, as coaches, not just you, but like we can't get into that assuming.
You can't.
Like you can't assume they know.
Right.
You have to teach it like they've never been taught it before.
And I guess that's I assumed. I don't know if I thought it consciously at the time, but I think I assumed the easy part is the ball. Yeah. But they don't ever play with the ball.
Yeah. Receivers drop the ball.
That's what I'm saying. And I learned my lesson from then on. As much as we could, once a week, we go play catch with these DNs. They go buzz 5 yards, catch the ball. Buzz 5 yards, catch the ball.
We tend to think those athletic guys can just do all the athletic stuff.
That's right.
I mean, they always ask to play tight end. They're like,
they do
play tight end.
And so
I hate whenever y'all drop defensive ends.
Learning experience, but then again, so to get more into what we're going to show on the board here is man pressure. I like to play cover 1 behind it. Man to man, we're sending heat. Sometimes we might twist guys, but man, I like me some man pressure because it's easy. It's easy. Your DBs, at least the ones that on the defenses that I coach and stuff, that I run so much 1 high defense that cover 1 is part of our bread and butter.
Right.
So when we start teaching blitzes, well, DB's got the easy part. That's just cover 1 for them, so they're good.
Yeah.
That's something they've been doing
Locked
for a while. Yeah. So they're playing cover 1 man free, and we're having fun in the front 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Wait.
So we're gonna take a pause.
I skipped breakfast for this.
I know. We're gonna take a pause from the football part for a second, and we are gonna
play a game.
We're gonna go our game of the week. There's gonna be a Mardi Gras / king cake debate, and why don't you tell them a little more? It's gonna be like a
chalk war.
It will be.
It's gonna be a chalk war.
It will be.
And you might stump me a little bit because obviously y'all got some years on me, so you know a little bit more about it. I had to throw that in there.
Absolutely. I got a couple of years on you.
Yeah.
I feel them too.
No, I feel everybody has their own opinions on king cake.
They do.
So why not have a table argument on it?
We should. So, tell you what. I'll give you the floor. Mr. Karen Crow, Moss Bluff, Beauchamp, Lafayette, Acadiana, the real Cajuns.
Heart of Cajun country.
Give me.
We got the Cajun Heartland State Fair.
Okay, yeah. And we got the French Food Fest and a variety of other things. Talk to me about your king cake preferences. By the way, Dirk stopped me yesterday. He was looking forward to this debate.
Okay. I hope he's on my side.
Well,
distractions with Dirk.
I just want to say, so we got probably 25 minutes left of podcast, and we want to get on the board after this. So just keeping everybody clued in on time.
You're trying to rush this because you know you're gonna lose.
Oh, give me a break.
You got to have a filling in a king cake.
No,
I knew that was coming. I knew he was gonna do something. Okay. Listen.
Oh, I'm listening.
It's a cinnamon roll.
That's the point.
I'm not going to spend $13 on a cinnamon roll. I'll go buy the Pillsbury one for freaking $1.89 and put it in my oven. Like, you got to put filling.
Okay. Is that's the whole thing?
No, I mean, now look, there's some people that go crazy with it, and cream cheese, Bavarian cream, strawberry cream cheese, blueberry cream cheese, blackberry's good.
I'm just taking notes on your argument
that's
here
fi-
because
that's
I'm gonna obliterate it in about 3 minutes.
Please, I'm gonna shout him out because this is kind of a different one. But Ralph Delat made a Boudin king cake a couple years ago for baseball. The coaches one morning he was cooking, and I've never had it before. And I'm not a fan of pepper jelly, but he put pepper jelly on top of this Boudin king cake, and oh my god, make you want a two-step.
Is that really a king cake though?
It's just, I guess it's just
It was in the shape of a king cake.
I mean,
It's a stuffed bread, man.
Yeah,
It's a stuffed bread, but which is great. I mean, that's terrific.
But
No,
back to this.
I do love boudin. So.
But guess what? It was stuffed with boudin. It had stuffing. It wasn't just bread
Understood.
with icing.
So, so I don't even know where to start. I'm so flustered at this argument that I don't know where to start.
In the
Yeah,
words
I
of Coach
understand.
Ricka, I'm in your dome.
No, you ain't in nobody's dome.
I domed you up.
No, you didn't dome nothing up. So, it's a cinnamon roll. Let's start out by saying that's the point. Everything that is good is born out of something that was originally plain. Vanilla ice cream,
It's the best ice cream.
pepperoni pizza, king cake. Okay? The origination of king cake, it's supposed to be a cinnamon roll with icing and a little bit of sugar. All right? Or some variety of that. The fact that, well, it's a cinnamon roll. Well, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's like being mad that pizza is cheese and dough. You know,
Right.
that's like,
And if you don't like
I
cheese
like
pizza,
stuffed crust
then you
pizza,
don't
though.
really like pizza. You know,
I like
that's the.
stuffed
I
crust
mean,
pizza.
it's not my favorite either.
Right,
But if you
but-
don't like cheese pizza, you don't really like pizza.
that's the truth. That's the truth. And New Yorkers will tell you that that's the only way to eat a pizza is cheese. And but I'm telling you, so and filling.
Stay in Louisiana.
So you said, and I'm about to blow your mind here. You said that if you wanted a cinnamon roll, you would just go buy the Pillsbury, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you like filling. Why not just go buy some Little Debbie's if you want filling?
Because that's not baked like homemade.
So you could go buy a birthday cake from Rouse's with lemon filling or strawberry filling.
But
You
that's not
could-
packaged.
I know. It is. Go to the deli in any of your local groceries.
But they made that and put it it doesn't just sit on the shelf.
So-
What's it called? Preserved.
So hold on. So you're saying processed food versus homemade? Nah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Th-
Come
this
on.
is
Come on.
so this is homemade or is this processed?
Oh, it's definitely homemade.
yeah, it's made there in
So
store. Yeah.
that I kind of guess I crossed myself because I guess Pillsbury is kind of processed. Would it be processed?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean,
It's got a
still raw.
shelf
You
life,
have-
Code.
you
It's got
get
a
to
shelf
bake it.
life. It's got a shelf life. It's processed.
I mean, this has a shelf life too. But
Yeah, but it wasn't shipped, baked from the factory.
neither are the Pillsbury cinnamon rolls. You have to bake them.
Oh, give me a break. All right, here we go. Here we go. Now we're just playing semantics here because
but
I just domed you up with the
No,
Little Debbie argument.
The Little Debbie
Because
kind of.
if all you like is filling, then just buy you something with filling. Don't
I do. I like zebra cakes. They're freaking
don't
amazing.
destroy the integrity of the king cake because you just need.
There's no king cake without the king cake. But why not just sprinkle a little gris inside of it and
That's not gris. That's
the curse, like the little curse inside.
Oh
of
my God! Look at all the flavors they have. So let me
it. It's cinnamon.
let me turn this
It's
over.
just it's bread with
So
cinnamon.
cream cheese, chocolate, strawberry, apple, praline pecan, blueberry, lemon, raspberry, pineapple, Bavarian, cherry. All of that just sounds like a sugary mess. Is all it is. If it's supposed to be a cinnamon roll with a little bit of icing on it, themed up. Now the theme is important. Themed up for Mardi Gras. Okay, goes great with your coffee. Goes great with certain other beverages people drink around this
You drink
time
black
of year.
coffee, right?
100%.
So why are you drinking the sugary coffee right now?
It's not sugary coffee. It's black coffee.
But it's king cake flavored, so it's got flavoring in it.
Yeah, it's got a little flavor in it.
But that it's not plain coffee anymore.
But
It's
the
more
fla-
cinnamon than sugar.
The flavoring of the king cake is the cinnamon and the icing. You're putting a hat on a hat.
That's a good point.
You wouldn't wear a hat on top of a hat. You're gimmicking up a gimmick.
It's not just bread. It's cinnamon roll is already doctored up.
Brownfield, you against me too?
Well, I love a stuffed king cake. I prefer
I was about
them.
to say because you bought us stuff.
But yeah, that's a pineapple cream cheese there from
And
Oak
I'm
Point, and
excited to
it's
try that.
wonderful. But I love a good, just solid, regular piece
do
of
the
king
honors?
cake. I really do. So I love them both. I don't think it's wrong at all. I'm not philosophically opposed to stuffed king cake, but you give me a regular plain king cake, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. Everything else is just lanyard, but I don't feel like I'm missing anything when I eat a plain king cake. I guess that's why I'm with Pell on this, just because I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
So in the spirit of brotherhood and a solid debate, we're gonna cut each of us a piece of this plain one, and I'd like us to cheers the coffee and king cake for the camera in the spirit of carnival season.
Ralph, you mind if I grab yours?
Go for it.
And the caffeinated coordinators.
Thank you, sir.
So
we're about to get cottonmouth because of this dry.
keep talking trash, G. So, men, here's to carnival season. Here's to the podcast. Here's to the caffeinated coordinators, and here's to you guys. Cheers,
Caffeinated
fellas.
That's a good king cake.
Man, you can't beat that with a stick, boys.
What's this one, Ralph's?
Ralph's.
And that's not dry. It's not dry. You
No, it's
can't
not.
lie and say that's
It's
dry.
not. It's not.
Ralph's in Gonzales, Louisiana, Highway 44.
I like the style of icing too.
And, I
I'm
think
not a-
what not to go. I feel like when you're talking about plain king cake, that really is where you learn what you got. You to be a good cook, you can always doctor it up with ingredients. You can put really good stuff that everybody like. You put bacon and stuff; it's gonna make everything better. But man, if you can make a good plain king cake, then you got something. You can always hide it with cream cheese and all other stuff, but Ralph's doesn't need to hide
No, it's
from
good.
anything.
That's what I'm saying. So that's a great point. Same thing with pizza, with ice cream, with baked goods. If you can make it plain and it tastes good, it's like Bluebell ice cream. You can't find me one person on this planet that doesn't like homemade vanilla Bluebell. That's because it's like, I know we're a G-rated program here, but it's also like certain people like their alcoholic beverages on. There you go, with no mixer. And because you like the original flavoring, and that's okay. And that's how you tell how good any kind of
It's good. It really
food
is.
is.
I'm not knocking the taste. Really, I'm just saying I like the filling.
It's missing something.
It's just missing.
I can understand. I don't agree with that, but I understand.
Like I can put a roll of cinnamon rolls in the oval shape and bake it.
Not the
sprinkle
same.
icing. It's just,
not the same.
but I can't stuff it with strawberry cream cheese.
Tell you what, I want you to bite a regular cinnamon roll, get you a tube of that sugary trash they put inside of it,
I
and
don't get the original icing. I get the cream cheese.
and
icing.
just do a chaser with it. Bite, you know what I'm saying? And you'll have your nonsense. So cream cheese icing, Dong Fong in New Orleans. That's their staple is the cream cheese icing. I had a piece the other day, and I'll be honest, I like cream cheese flavored things. It was just a little too cream cheesy for me. It was a little overpowering.
Yeah, it can be rich.
And it kind of, I like a cream cheese to be part of the flavoring of anything. But if it's like the main event, doesn't work for me, brother. Doesn't work for me.
I got to shout out Navarre's in Springfield. It's sort of a legendary king cake place there, and they're open 4:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day from New Year's Day all the way to Mardi Gras Day. They don't play around. Very good king cake. Not a lot of selection, but they bake the filling. I think this might be a good middle ground here. They bake the filling into the king cake, so you don't get that sort of powerful glaze cream cheese that's been stuffed in after. It's more subtle. It's an interesting approach. Good stuff.
I also want to say that is a good middle ground. We talked about you don't like the processedness of the Little Debbie or whatever versus your king cake. You know that filling, that's all processed filling. That's the least homemade part of the king cake
doesn't
is
matter.
the filling.
It still brings it out.
Oh goodness!
Still brings out flavors.
But
I mean,
well, let's maybe we're gonna put a button on this. I feel like we're gonna have to revisit this, even though Mardi Gras will be over by the time we record again.
it will.
But we're gonna come back to this. Well, I'm not done. I'm not done yet. But
Okay. We could do it off camera. That way we can get a little more than PG rated.
I was gonna say I did this whole thing without saying one curse word. I'm kind of proud of myself.
That's impressive, and a model for coaches, I'd say.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You can be
All right.
passionate without being
So
profane.
let's maybe get to
We got about
what
10 minutes.
what the people want to see. They want to see a little board talk, and we got very very general with the Blitz conversation before the game. So let's get on the board and talk a little more about blitzes.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, let's see here. In fact, Tyler, if you can just take that camera and put it back over there, some and angle it toward the screen there. We might get a second angle of the screen there. That'd be perfect right there. That is a good angle right there.
First try.
All right, so nothing like a little board time here. Let's get this camera where it belongs.
You got to take the whole time, Coach Pell.
All right.
Get you 6 minutes of talking.
Let me
We got
get you-
episodes. That way we can get our list in.
Let me get you mic'd up here, Coach. Let's see here.
Does the blue show up good?
It does. It does.
Oh,
Oh, what I do? Ooh, that's not good.
technical.
Little spillage.
Oh.
That ain't gonna do nothing.
I know, but
All right. Well, there we go. That's always fun.
so we're gonna draw.
I'm listening, Coach Pell.
I understand. We're gonna draw everything up to 2x2 for right now. I would like to get into the 20 personnel looks at some point that we discussed when going against power and counter.
We're going 10. Okay.
Yeah, we're just going 10 just as a general drawing here, but I definitely want to get into that 20 personnel stuff down the road because we talked so much about power and counter. I do want to talk about how to pressure power and counter.
Right.
But anyway, so we're going to draw our over front here. We're gonna draw our over front here. So first things first, your blitz, your front's got to match your coverage. So got a man for a man in the secondary. Corners on number 1. Count receivers from the sideline. Corners on number 1. Safeties, down safeties on number 2. Okay. And then we're going to predominantly talk about the 2 inside backers here. In our defense, the way I like to do it is, and I learned this from Coach Rollins. I've worked for guys who've done it differently, but I'll go with the way I learned from him. In order to shoot a linebacker in a gap, you tag the gap you want him to go in. So between the center and guard, you have A gap, guard, tackle, B gap, outside the tackle, C gap. Right. So for the Mike and the Will, they would each have their own A, B, and C word. You'd have a certain A word. You have a certain theme, I should say, that talks to the Mike. All right? People use fruits, apple, berry, cherry. I've used mascots that are related to space, Astro, Blast, Comet. Really, that part is we could save those things for the playbook episode.
Right.
When we talk about building a playbook and things that build off each other, but we used A, B, and C words. So the A word that was related to the Mike would shoot him in A gap, and you build a 5-man blitz. The B word would shoot him into B gap. But oh wait, there's somebody there.
He's got to go somewhere else.
That's right. So if we called a Mike B gap blitz, tackle had to crash the A gap that used to belong to the Mike backer. Mm-hmm. So we also had a word that talked to every defensive lineman to get them to cross into another gap. Okay, so this for us, that was chop. Chop, 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 meaning tackle crashes A, that way the Mike could blitz B. All right, if we call the C word related to the Mike, now the jack and the tackle both have to crash their inside gap. Because remember, any gap we vacate with a backer, somebody's got to account for it. Every gap has to be accounted for. So this was called slam, the 2-man slant on the strong side, and that would put the Mike in C. So, but wait, Coach, well, what happens if the back flares? Now, if we tag a Mike blitz here, okay, the linebacker who's left is responsible for the running back. The linebacker who's left is responsible for the running back. So that would require the Will would have to cheat his alignment a little bit, and his eyes would be there. Okay? So, and talking about tendencies here, what we like to do is we would try to, sometimes if we wanted to shoot a 5-man blitz and we thought the swing was really going to kill us, because believe it or not, on the board it's easy to say, well, what if the back swings? Some teams don't do that.
Right.
Some teams just don't. That's not their fail-safe versus the blitz. They don't have 5-man routes. Or they might have them, but they don't use them. So if we thought that was a serious threat, we would game plan to maybe blitz the linebacker opposite the back. And that would just be something we have to spot from the sky.
So let me ask you this, like calling it, like play calling wise. You said the double, so if the Mike's going C-gap, you got slam by the 3 tech and the 5.
That's right.
All you say is slam, or you still have to say a C word for the Mike to know?
So that's a good question. On-field communication is key with these backers and these D linemen. On-field communication. We talk about problem solving. That is part of the teaching progression. That's why we have a word for these guys changing gaps. Okay. So let's say I call a Mike B-gap blitz blast. Okay. Call it blast. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll go with slam because that's what we're talking about. So comet. Comet is a Mike in the C-gap, which means that Jack has to go B, tackle goes A. So all I call is I call the front, I call the stunt, which is comet, and then I call the coverage. Okay. Once the Mike gets the call, it is his responsibility to know I have people in gaps that I have to blitz. I need to call slam. Gotcha. Now, if I didn't blitz a Mike, could I just call slam as the pressure? Absolutely. I could call front, so I could call Tex, slam, black. And there would be no blitz. They would just slam. But because that's a built-in call, that's something we've taught. We've taught the D lineman slam, what slam means. Right. So that way when we get into comet, the Mike knows, they already know slam. How do I get them out of their gaps? Slam, slam, slam. He's not yelling comet, 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 because
they don't know comet.
And it helps if they do, but they don't have to. Not required. Talk to them in words they know. So when we teach them D-line stunts, they need to be experts at D-line stunts. And then the Mike and the Will, they have to know all of it. And to me, these are your quarterbacks right here of the front. Right. The free is a quarterback of the secondary. Mike, Will, quarterbacks of the front. If you got the easiest way to keep a backer off the field is not knowing the communication, because it is mandatory. And I know that might fluster some people. Well, what if you just got a dude there? Well, to me, you're not a dude if you don't know the playbook. And it's my responsibility to teach it to you. And it's my responsibility to dumb it down if I have to. But you have to be able to do some of the simple communication. Same thing for the Will. He has an A, B, and a C word. So now I want to get into... I'm just going to scroll up for a second. And I'll be quick with this. I know we're kind of...
About 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're low on time.
Yeah,
we got a part 2.
And we can always save the list for the end of part 2 if we need to.
Right. So, keeping with man blitzes, we also have. So those are 5-man blitzes, A, B, and C words. The other way to tag it is you use names of your positions. So if you want to blitz the Mike, some guys just say Mike, or they'll say motor, or they'll use an M word to tag that person. Right. Or they might, if they want to go Mike in the A gap, they might do MASH, Mike A gap, Mob, Mike B gap. So we'll say that for the playbook episode. There's a ton of ways you can name this. The A, B, and C thing, and that's how I used to do it. But when I learned the A, B, and C way, that's my jam. And if anybody's scouting me out there for future games by listening to this, just know I have so many A, B, and C words, you're not going to know which one's which. Because I have A, B, and C words for 6-man blitzes. So, here we go. 6-man, shooting 2 linebackers. Oh, I drew this one wrong. All right. Another A, B, and C word. There's an A word to shoot the Mike and Will in the A gaps. Okay, I named those after weapons. But it could be wham. That's what it used to be. I named those after weapons. Arrow. Okay, that's a pretty common one for this blitz. So arrow.
How southern of you.
Right, that was a weapon. Shoots him in both gaps. Okay, that requires the nose to go into a different gap, which is a call the Will knows how to make. We have a double B gap, also named after a weapon. And we also have a double C gap. So these are just very, very simple 6-man blitzes. So I will say this, well, coach, how do you account for the running back? This, when you send 6 guys in a 4-2-5, you have a rule called peel. All right? So that is communicated in the coverage. It is cover 1. So whatever we call cover 1, it's a different name that's related to the original name of cover 1. And again, that's playbook episode. You know, if we like to use colors. If I name something green, then if I'm playing the same coverage with just a little wrinkle, I would call it something else that's green. Grass, money, Hulk. Okay? But, and that's the gist of it. And I want to get into real quick why this stuff works. Okay? Why does this work? Well, I'm not going to draw the whole thing. I'm just going to draw the front. Because the questions are going to be, well, coach, how do you study protections? How do you, and that's a very good question. Protections matter. They absolutely matter. However, as a former offensive line coach and as somebody who has talked to O-line coaches, and especially high school kids, I have to make these 5 guys think. Sometimes it ain't about making you think.
And it's our job to make sure those guys aren't thinking.
Correct. And that's the chess match.
Yes.
Because what is the cardinal rule of offensive line play when you see somebody cross your face? You have to take him. Yeah. You have to take him.
Don't pass somebody up to block somebody.
That's right. You have to take him. That's why when we get into sim pressures, that's why sim pressure is going to work so well. Because you start walking guys up to the line, occupying their eyes, so they false step, which gives me just enough time for guys to shoot gaps and do what they're supposed to do here. And right here, tackles probably look, even if he's sliding the opposite way, he has his eyes there. Regardless, they have their eyes on their covered gap. Okay? So that's just their main gap right here. All right? Let's say they're all sliding this way because that's where they see the 1, 2, 3, 4 threats. I need 4 people. Big on big. That's a common blocking scheme for the O-line. Well, where's the natural gap at? That's where the cut is. Okay? So in your film study, if you can figure out how they're counting your defense, then you could, and again, defense can be a little bit of a guessing game, but you can, if you think Will blitzes because of this, because in the over front, they like to slide and block this way, then you might practice a lot of Will blitzes that week. Okay? If I want the Will into the C gap, well, the cardinal rule, don't cross my face. Oh, the N crossed his face? A Will C gap works good now. And that stuff seems so simple. I know there's going to be coaches out there, well, we'll just do this to account for that. And that's true. Like, this stuff isn't, you watch film too. But that's what's going through my mind is, how do they block it? Or how can I occupy linemen's eyes? And last thing I'm going to draw, and then we could have time for a list, I believe. No? So we'll save the list for part 2. So that's why it's really fun as a defensive coach when you start slanting gaps and doing different things, because you create false reads, you create false steps. All right? So they might, and look, against the over, they might supposed to be sliding to the over to take care of this. All right? What happens if he slides? Will doesn't come. You know what I'm saying? He slides, the will doesn't come. So does he try to block back on the nose? Does he let him go?
It depends on how you teach the slide.
Right.
People teach it different ways. If I'm sliding the full line.
Right.
I'm not doing the big on big thing. And I mean, I think slide protection takes care of a lot of things for the offensive line. It takes away that thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't matter who's in my gap. Where do I have to slide? I got to slide to the gap to my left. So that's my gap I got to protect.
And for those teams, that are really sound and they try to keep it as simple as possible, all I need this guy to do, I just need him to false step. He's sliding his gap. If he hesitates just a little, whatever I got dialed up here might will in the A, gives me just enough time.
Right.
Okay.
That's where we're gonna have to pick up next time, guys.
And that is the gong. I hope everyone enjoyed our intro to Blitzes. We're going to pick that up next week. King Cake Mardi Gras episode. Hail Endymion. Go Spartans. And
Happy Mardi
we're
Gras.
out.
Huh?
Happy Mardi Gras.
Yeah, happy Mardi Gras.